It was a night that changed everything for me. I never planned to listen in on that conversation that night. But sometimes life puts you in a spot where you have to face the truth, even if it hurts your heart very deeply. It was almost midnight when I finally got back from the store. The night air was a little bit cold, and the street lights were glowing softly on the pavement. I was carrying a plastic bag that had a cheap bottle of wine and a couple of frozen dinners inside. Those dinners were the kind of food that basically told the whole world my marriage was falling apart. They were quick, lonely meals for people who do not have anything left to say to each other at the dinner table. As I walked through the front door of our little rental house on Elmwood Avenue in Charlotte, North Carolina, I heard a voice coming from the kitchen. It was my wife, Claire. Her voice was low and tight, and I could tell she was very frustrated and tired. She was talking to her friend Megan on the phone. She said, "I just cannot stand being with him anymore, Megan. I feel like I am trapped in a cage that is way too small for me. He is like a ghost that follows me around everywhere, and I can never get away from him." I stopped right where I was. I could not move my feet. My breath felt like it got stuck deep in my throat, making it hard to swallow. Her words felt like a sharp knife going right through me, cutting into my chest. I was never meant to hear those things, but I did. In that 1 second, everything suddenly made sense. Marriage often starts out like a beautiful dream that you never want to wake up from. You have all these big promises, and you talk late into the night about the future. You laugh until your stomach hurts over the smallest things. But then, slowly, it changes. It turns into the same old daily chores, quiet car rides where nobody says a word, and noticing how the person sleeping next to you always rolls over to face the other way. I met Claire when we were both in our early 20s. We were young, and we were not afraid of anything at all. We were chasing big dreams that felt like they were just a little bit out of our reach. But we did not care because we had each other. Back then, her eyes would light up every single time she looked at me. It felt like I was the most important person in her whole world. I lived for that feeling. It made me feel strong and brave. But as the years went by, that spark started to go away. Maybe it did not just disappear all at once. Maybe it just wore down like an old pair of shoes you wear every day. She started to act like she was far away, even when she was in the same room as me. I became very predictable. I went my office job every day. I came home every evening, and I tried as hard as I could to be the husband she needed. I thought doing the right things would be enough. But for some reason, it was never enough to make her happy. Standing there in that dark hallway, hearing her say she hated being with me, felt like my heart was being squeezed in a heavy metal machine. I could have walked into the room and yelled. I could have asked her to explain why she said those things, or I could have begged her to stay, but I did not do any of that. Instead, I went upstairs very quietly. I packed a few shirts and pants into a small duffel bag, and I slipped out of the house without making a single sound. I did not leave a note on the table, and I did not try to start a fight. She wanted to be free, so I decided to give her exactly what she asked for. I drove my car to a tired-looking motel just off Interstate 77, right near the Carowinds theme park. It was the kind of place where the paint was peeling off the walls, and the rooms looked like they had seen better days. The whole place had a sad smell of old smoke and lost hope. I sat down on the thin mattress and looked at the loud, ugly wallpaper. I could not stop thinking about our life. I wonder how long she had felt that way. How long had I been nothing more than a ghost just drifting through her life while she wished I was gone? The next morning, my phone started ringing like crazy. I had so many missed calls, text messages, and voicemails from her. She was asking, "Where are you? We need to talk. Please come back home." It was almost funny in a sad way. The same woman who said she could not stand to be near me was suddenly very scared as soon as I actually went away. I let her stay with those feelings for a while. I wanted her to feel what it was really like to lose someone who had always been there to support her. 2 days later, she found out where I was, and she showed up at the motel. When I opened the door, she looked like she had not slept at all. Her eyes looked empty and dark. Her hair was a mess, and her voice was shaking when she talked. She whispered, "Why did you leave?" I let out a short, sad laugh. I asked her, "Do I really have to tell you why?" She swallowed hard and looked very nervous. She said, You were not supposed to hear what I said that night. That was the thing that bothered her the most. It was not the mean things she had said about me. It was just the fact that I had overheard them. At that moment, something deep inside of me finally broke for good. I stepped back and let her come into the small room. She just stood there. She would not even sit down. I asked her, was it true? She waited too long to answer, and that silence told me everything I needed to know. For the first time, Claire, who always knew the right thing to say, had no words at all. She tried to find an excuse or something to say that would stop me from leaving. But in my mind, I was already gone. I was not just leaving that motel room. I was leaving our marriage behind. She finally whispered that she was just upset and frustrated. She said she did not mean it that way. I just shook my head slowly. I told her that people do not say things like that unless some part of them really believes it is true. Tears started falling down her face. She said, I love you, but I stopped her before she could say anything else. I told her not to say it. I did not need to hear the but. I already knew how this story was going to end. She started crying very hard, but I did not go to her. For years, I was the one who stayed awake at night wondering if I was good enough for her. Now, it was her turn to feel the silence and the empty space of a life without me. I never went back to that house on Elmwood Avenue. The divorce was very hard and it felt bitter at times. But the process of fixing my own heart was not as bad as I thought it would be. Along the way, I learned something very important. Leaving was not the hardest part of the whole thing. The hardest part was staying in a place where I was no longer wanted. Our love had already burned down to ashes. Claire tried to reach out to me a few times after that, hoping to fix something that had died a long time ago. But by then, I had found something much better. I found peace in my daily life. And after some time, I found someone new. I found someone who looks at me like I am the person who carries the stars in my eyes. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel like I am finally home.